What's up, everybody? I hope you're having a wonderful day. And today I'm going to be ranking every Eminem album, sans Infinite. Um, which means I'm starting with the Slim Shady LP, which, if I'm being honest, is a pretty good start to Eminem's discography. As you can kind of see here, we got three songs in S tier, which is more than I can say for a couple of his other albums. And then, again, quite a few in A tier, but most of them do kind of sit in B tier with As the World Turns dipping all the way down to C. But other than As the World Turns, it's a pretty enjoyable album. It's not Eminem's best flow, delivery or writing or anything like that. But there's some solid songs in here. We got a couple classics with Guilty Conscience and My Name Is, and one of my personal favorites, Come On Everybody. So I will be placing the Slim Shady LP into A tier. Our next album is the Marshall Mathers LP. The Marshall Mathers LP is a bit of a mixed bag, if I'm being honest. As you can see, we got quite a few songs in S tier. We got The Way I Am, I'm Back, Kill You, Stand, The Real Slim Shady, Drug Ballad, and Bitch Please 2, which is an absolute banger. And then we got quite a few in A, quite a few in B, but then we get down here, right? And we got one in D and one in F. So nothing really mediocre in C. But we have, in my opinion, Eminem's very worst song. That's why F tier is called Kim tier. It's because of this song. It is atrocious. I do not like hearing about Eminem uh, getting into domestic disputes with his wife. So, not personally one of my favorite songs. And then we have Marshall Mathers, which some of the content of that song was a little bit poorly aged, to say the least. Still, I think the Marshall Mathers LP is one of his best, even though some parts didn't age so well, and it's a bit of a rocky listen. So, for all those reasons, I am going to be placing the Marshall Mathers LP into S tier, although it's probably a lower S tier, if that makes any sense, not his highest and best work. Our next album is The Eminem Show. The Eminem Show is okay. So let's just take a look at some of the tracks. So Till I Collapse is an absolute banger, like undoubtedly. So is Cleaning Out My Closet. White America, Superman is so fucking good. I've listened to that basically on repeat listen recently. Then we have Without Me, My Dad's Gone Crazy, Haley's Song, and Drips, all in S tier. And just to add on top of that, there's no Kim levels of like song writing, I guess. There's nothing as unenjoyable as Kim. The lowest song is in B tier, and that's Soldier. So I think that really speaks to the album as a whole. While I do think uh, the Marshall Mathers LP has higher highs, it also has infinitely, infinitely lower lows with like things like Kim T or Marshall Mathers. I think Marshall Mathers LP is just a slightly worse track to listen to all the way through at least. So if I'm ranking it in terms of an album and not just individual tracks, I'm going to have to give it to The Eminem Show, which will dethrone Marshall Mathers LP. Then, after that stunning album, we have Encore. I don't think I really have to say much, but let's look at some of the tracks in here. We got Like Toy Soldiers, My First Single, and Yellow Brick Road, which are all just fucking atrocious songs. Yellow Brick Road, if it weren't for Kim, would be Eminem's worst song. It has probably the worst verse in any given Eminem song with the whole layered vocals and the rambling tone. And then its highest song is pretty high. It's got Mockingbird. Mockingbird is a bit of a bop. I really like Mockingbird until the actual Mockingbird part of the song. But most of it's localized into this area. We've got a few things that squeaked out into S and A. Some of the notable examples being One Shot, Two Shot, and Never Enough. One Shot, Two Shot being a great Eminem featuring D12 track, and then Never Enough being great until Eminem decides to start rapping on it. So that's unfortunate. So I will be putting Encore into F tier. Yeah, F tier. I don't exactly blame Eminem for this one. He was going through a rough patch at the time. Uh, a lot of things in his life were not going so well. And he kind of slipped further back into his addictions. So that really explains why Encore was god awful, if I'm being honest. But still gotta rank it how I gotta rank it. The next album is Relapse. And Relapse is the one I have the hardest time giving a fair assessment of because it does have what for a very long time was my favorite Eminem song with Beautiful. And still think that's a really good song. And it's got some bangers. It's got Old Time's Sake and Crack a Bottle. Both really like high energy, pump you up type of songs. And it's got some fun yet goofy songs. It's got My Mom, 3 a.m., Must Be the Ganja, Hello. But then it's also got things like Same Song and Dance, which is just fucking atrocious, and Bagpipes from Baghdad, which I believe is the song with incestuous lesbian conjoint twins getting molested, if I remember correctly. And that is atrocious. That song really shows that it came out after Encore and he hadn't quite gotten back to his peak yet. And for all those reasons, I think I'm going to put Relapse in B tier because it does have some songs I really like. Beautiful is still one of my favorite Eminem songs. It's got a really good message, but it's also got bagpipes from Baghdad in it. So I can't fully excuse the album as a whole. And then we have Recovery. I'm going to be placing Recovery in C tier. Listen, Recovery is a boring. It's a boring album. I will never listen to Recovery all the way through again. It is it's so fucking boring. It's not got any like super low lows, you know. Its lowest song I believe is in B tier. No, it's in C tier with Cold Wind Blows and On Fire, which aren't terrible songs. They're just super fucking boring. Some positives of the album are Talking to Myself and Spacebound, Love the Way You Lie. Those songs are really good. But unfortunately, that's not enough to carry the album. A lot of the album feels like it was trying to target a wider demographic, but ended up feeling like it just kind of pandered to the lowest common denominator type audience, which is why I'm going to be placing it in C tier. I get if you like the album, because it does have some really good songs on it, but it's just such a meh album to me. On the other hand, following that, we have the Marshall Mathers LP2. My opinion on Marshall Mathers LP2 is kind of hard to pin down. It does have some really good songs in it. It's got Love Game featuring Kendrick Lamar, which I'm a big fan of both Eminem and Kendrick Lamar, so getting to hear a song with the two of them was really nice. It's also got, you know, a classic, Rap God. And then it's got one of my personal favorites, Headlights, featuring Nate Russ, which kind of goes back on or recontextualizes a lot of what he said during cleaning out my closet. Then we've got the Marshall Mathers LP2, which I'm not quite sure on my feelings of. It does have some tracks that I absolutely love. Um, Love Game it's got such a summer vibe to it. I love the collaboration between Kendrick and Eminem. I wish I could see more of that. It's got a classic in Rap God. I think Bad Guy, while it is a very long track, I believe over or around 7 minutes, I I don't dislike any of the time I have with it. And then it's got Monster, which is another great one, and Headlights, which kind of recontextualizes a lot uh, of what he says in Cleaning Out My Closet. You know, and there's not any songs that come to mind as bad from this album. I believe the lowest standing song is Stronger Than I Was, which is not only in A tier, it's in like mid to low A tier, so not even that low in A tier, which I think is a pretty good record, all things considered. So that being said, I have to rank it at least A, and I will be ranking it top of A. That seems fair to me. The next album we have, of course, is Eminem's easily worst album, Revival. Revival is dog shit. There is one song I like from it. Uh, sure, it might seem unfair to put it below Encore, but uh, this not only feels like a complete, piece of dog shit, much like Encore did, but Encore at least had the excuse of Eminem was going through some shit. Meanwhile, Revival seems like Eminem's whiny motherfucking, like, it's just, he's pissing and moaning about what the fans, the like criticisms he's receiving from fans in the most immature way. It does have Framed, which is in S tier for me, but I can't justify that. I cannot justify that. If you said this belongs from fucking anywhere this low, I would understand that. I would completely get where you're coming from. So I'm not going to use that one song as a basis for like really anything. Then we have Kamikaze. Kamikaze seems like a rushed album. That's because it is. It didn't seem like he really cared. He did have a few good songs on it. Those being Lucky You, Not Alike, and Kamikaze. Um, but again, it felt like this was, I think, released not even a full year after Revival, sort of in response to all the backlash that it received. So he didn't really make much with this album. He's got one of Eminem's worst songs in Venom, which is, I believe, his fifth lowest ranked song, in my opinion. Um, and it's got Normal, Nice Guy, and Greatest, which I think have some of the most atrocious and annoying Eminem hooks slash choruses in all of existence. So those things really drag it down to where I believe it is a D tier song. Now, again, it does have some things dragging it away from the F tier. It's got Lucky You, which is one of Eminem's best songs, in my opinion, and kind of shows that even when Eminem's just kind of shilling out, he can make a few great tracks. And last but certainly not least, we have Music to Be Murdered By. Listen, listen. Look at all that. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11. 11 songs here are from, like in S tier, are from Music to Be Murdered By. The only thing I dislike truly from Music to Be Murdered By is Unaccommodating's verse. Well, Unaccommodating's Young M.A. verse. It is really bad. I don't like Young M.A. all that much. Sorry, any Young M.A. fans out there listening. Uh, Again, Never Love Again is a song that I don't really care for. Anything in B, there's decent arguments against. Again, an unaccommodating young MA's verse isn't great. Never Love Again feels kind of like a rehash of things that were already said in shit. What's the song? In Too Deep. And then Marsh is just goofy. So that aside, it also has my favorite Eminem song, my fifth favorite Eminem song, Darkness, which is a beautiful song, a very well done song, and a very timely song, if that makes any sense. So for those reasons, I am going to be ranking Music to Be Murdered By top of S tier. I know that may not be a popular opinion. A lot of people would probably put that pretty low, if I'm correct. But it's one of my favorite albums. I enjoy listening to it over and over again. I like the horror vibe he went for in this album, especially with some of the interludes and stuff like that. My one thing to say is do not listen to side B. It is atrocious. And with all that out of the way, I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace. See ya.